Hello everybody, we are looking at few graphic utilities available to us to do some simple charts and things like that. So we are going to look at Matplotlib and mpld3 libraries available in Python to see how we can graph some of the data sets we usually get in our normal work. um, Here are a few of the links which were useful to me. So let's review Matplotlib first. So Matplotlib library, as you know, like it's it's a Python library, 2D graphics. We can render a lot of charts in it. Here's the website for it, matplotlib.org. Here you can see the introduction and documentation set is available here. Then in my links, basically I started with the tutorial, so which is pretty good. It explains to you a few things, how this thing works. So you can review that, and then there is a good FAQ as well, like usage wise, and so which is very good concepts in it. Like I thought, like they should put this first in the documentation, but it's under FAQ section. So hopefully you can review it uh, first, then we'll go visit the documentation. It gives you the concept for um, this library, if you just start reading the documentation, it becomes a little bit difficult to understand what they're talking about. Here they describe what things are, like anatomy of a graph and things like that, what they're like talking about. so so once you understand these concepts, I think it becomes easier to go through the documentation as well. But anyway, I'll go through a few examples just to see how this API works and behaves. So let's look at the initial example. This is right from the, I think, documentation. So we do an import of this library, pyplot as PLT. Then we do get again data in series like format, input values and squares. So we're trying to map this out. We can do a plot is just a line chart, and scatter is the dots. Different type of chart, scatter chart, where we just render the dots in it. And then we set the chart title and labels, like title, label, tick parameters, and things like that. Um, so basically, as you can see, the title would be over here, and this is the title anatomy. The legend is over here. Major tick marks, minor tick marks, major tick label, y-axis label, figure. This whole thing is called a figure. Axis is whatever is within it. Spines are these lines over here. Minor tick label, axis label, things like that, right? So um, let's look at the code again. So we are setting title, label, y label, and then we just do a plot.show, right? Let's see how this runs. So the file is test_mat, so Python test_mat.py, and it will run it, and boom, you get the graphs set up or rendered over here. You can see how it's behaving. One, it's calculating the squares, so it rendered it in its own UI, believe, and you can zoom in, zoom out, things like that within this renderer tool of theirs. It works fairly well. You can save things in PNG, JPEG, and a few other formats, which is very good. So I can save this graph. Okay, so let's look at another example. So this is for the same data set I did earlier in Pygel. Basically, this is the data set which I'm trying to graph. It is an output from SAR command in Unix, formatted a little bit, with date, time, received megabyte, transmitted megabytes, and total megabytes per second. So we're trying to graph this CSV, or basically a space delimited file out. It's pretty big, like around 150 lines. So a lot of data points to graph. So let's see how this thing works. So we looked at this initial example. Let's look at a little bit bigger example. So this one is graph_mat. So Matplotlib. We import the CSV. Again, import those libraries, date, time. Not importing Pygel, so remove that. Get the file in, get the header. Very similar to earlier Pygel video. Then dates, we get all those things in lists, so very same as earlier, and then we try to plot it. So PLT is that matplotlib library, and dot plot will render the line charts. The dates is the our axis on the x side, and Rx is the receiving bytes, basically. On this is the line we are trying to render. This RO is a short form for what type of line you want. So R is for color red, O is for circle, dash is for just a line, the lines, and then label, give it the label you want. So header 2 is our that I believe it Rx bytes per second. Then again, other two data series we are trying to plot as well. Put them there here, and then basically just give the title, X label, and Y label. Show me the legend also, and then do a plot.show. So this should render our graph underscore mat. So let's do this Python graph mat.py, and there it is. So this is how it rendered it. So it's using it's rendering it's within its own renderer, so which is good. But you see, we can't hover on top of it, get the values. But on the right hand corner, it does show you the values. For some reason, not only the dots, but every point in the graphic is being mapped. So you really can't say that, okay, this is the dot point which we plotted and what accurately it represents. So that's, I think, something missing here in the default render. But nevertheless, it's still useful to see how this thing is plotted, right? Okay. This is the legend. Again, you can't do much. You can't take this lights out by default, it's a simple rendering right now. So let's see how we can advance this rendering little bit more. So going on to the next one, we are trying to do So continuing on, basically looking at another file. So we are trying to improve the rendering behavior of this Matplotlib library. Basically trying to use another mpld3 library. So that's library is also basically let's see, here's the link for that, hyperlink. So it brings the Matplotlib to the browser. Basically, this is what it implies. I was just hoping that it will improve the some of the rendering features it lacks. So so let's see if it does that for us. So again, this file remains the same. We try to plot it as similar, like very same almost, and then we just do, instead of plot.show, we do mpld3.show, and we try to run this file, see what happens. Alright, let's see. There you go. So this is plot is being rendered in the browser by this tool, which seems okay, but again it's lacking features like Pygol had earlier, so trying to see if we can improve this as well. So going back to the code, so mpld3 starts a web server internally and renders this basically on the HTTP. So that is how it works. But let's see, trying to improve it a little bit further. So with this, the code changes a little bit. So again, we plot it, but here we try to give it a point labeled tooltip. There's a tooltip which allows you to get those dots in the graphs mapped up. So did that for all the lines, and then tried to rendering it. Still, it was missing the labels properly. So in order to get those labels working with this tooltip, we need to format those labels appropriately. So there's a small function I wrote which just formats those datetime labels properly, and then put when you hover over it, hopefully it will, and then render it at the tooltip, right? There's another, and just like this point label tooltip, another plugin for D3 I used, found it over the web. I think the link is in that PowerPoint, but it's a mouse position red plugin. So I enabled that as well, and then the plugins, so the point label tooltip plugin also I enabled that, and then basically saved it to a file. Instead of doing show, well, you could do show as well. I just did, well, I can uncomment it and comment this guy and see how it works. Let's do this. Run it, and then see how it renders, and there you go. So much cleaner output. Hopefully it shows you the labels. There you go. So any point you put, it will hover over it. It will show you the values, the date time, and the value of it. Again, the time, see, we didn't have to play with this axis that much. By default, it rendered with gaps and trying to look nice. In Pygol, we had to do this thing manually. So with D3, it became much easier and better also. And that other plugin I have, so any place you hover, it will give you that position and the value, just just like that rendering for Matplotlib. So this works better, and you could save this into an HTML file, So if I, instead of doing show, let's save it to HTML, it will generate eth2.html. There it generated that file, and hopefully, let's see, we can, this is the file it generated. And once you open it, very similar behavior. Um, the tooltips are showing up properly, so everything works nicely. So this is very similar to Pygel, but again, some features like uh, those lines don't disappear when you click on the legend, I think is missing here. Probably there might be some facility to do it. I haven't researched into it. But this is good enough for me with using this API. So Matplotlib by itself is very powerful. It can render many different type of charts, graphs. If you look at its documentation, it will show you basically how many types of plots it can generate. Um, I think the gallery is a good one to go to. So it will show you line bars, shapes, plots. It can do multiple charts and things like that. So overall, it's a much, I think, powerful API than Pygel, covering a lot of different areas. But didn't like the default rendering with it. So, so I had to use that mpld3 library to get it onto the website of things. So you can use either Pygel or this library to do those simple charting. Um, so with that, I'll leave it. Thank you.